Hello and welcome to my first repair video. If you're expecting someone any good at electronics, I am not that person. You will probably be after Big Clive or the back office show. However, I do have something esoteric, the Razer Orbweaver gaming keypad. My microswitches have started to go, which is irritating, especially around the thumbstick area. So what we're going to do, ideally, we're going to crack it open and replace them with these babies that I picked up on AliExpress. Oh dear, the YouTuber focusing problem. Here we go. So these should just be a drop-in replacement. I'll link the thread in down below as well. So, and means of preparation, I've already been in here once. So what I did was I moved one of the stick microswitches to the flappy button, and that's been doing me fine in WoW for the time being. But if they're all on the way out, we should probably replace them. So what this will be to document how to get in one of these. I've seen replacement videos for the mechanical switches, not so much this side. There is one person who's done a thumbstick mod on there, so I'll also link their video in down below, but let's explore. So in means of preparation, I've already taken off the rubber foot on the bottom and the sticker that goes over the thumbstick area. So let's prepare our container of screws. I've got the sticker on there. The sticker for the thumbstick area, it didn't survive, I'm afraid. So let's get into here. I'll take the metal panel off first. There are a few things to be aware of when you're going in here. First of which, there is a ball detent on the little slidey bit, which we will get to in just a moment. Got my trusty iFixit screwdriver set. Something not sponsored, but it is awfully handy for this kind of stuff. I'm also going full Adrian Black and wearing an optivisor because these screws are teeny tiny, like a grain of rice. And we will get to, oops, here we go. So for screw storage, I'm just using this little project box that probably had some sort of set of bolts from Amazon coming in. So we've got the little releasey switch here that moves things around. Now, the part to watch out for is the ball detent. Oh, we've also got the spring that's come out of this switch here. But the one thing that you want to be looking out for that goes off into low Earth orbit is the ball detent behind this screw here. Let's see if we can't zoom down on that. Oh, look at me going all Big Clive. So in there is what you want to be careful of. So I'm going to take a bit of tension off it. Just undo it just a touch. In fact, I think we can get away with taking that whole one off. There we go. So that's that screw out. The whole thing has now fallen off, which is fine. So you can leave this in. I would recommend going out, taking it out to start with, just purely so you don't lose track of it, because it is a teeny tiny ball detent. So let's see if we can't push that through with the screwdriver. Is that going to come out? Let's see if we can't give it a tap. Nope, that is in there. Have we got a little pick or something that we can use? What about this? All right, let's try this little sideways pick here. I'll just gently push it through out the back. There we go. So we have our spring, and our ball should, in theory, follow. You see what I mean about the size of it, is that this will quite happily go off into low Earth orbit if you're not careful. So I'll put that in there, and I'll also make sure we have the ball. That sounded like something went. Is it still in there? It's still in there. I'm not going to lose track of you this time. I spent long enough trying to pick it up the last time I had this open. Is that going to go all the way? There we go. Whoa. And that is the size of ball bearing we're talking about. So, can cause problems. Right, now we've got that part done, we can get at some of these other screws. So I'll just take this screw out here and put it in there. And was there any more? Yep, there's just these screws on the front now. Honestly, since I did my bodge on this, I haven't even noticed that I haven't had the sticker on the thumbstick. Right, so we've done the one delicate bit with the ball detent. We've got another delicate part coming up, and there is a way of getting the flappy part out without breaking it, but I have not successfully managed that before. No, they're going to stay in there. I should really have picked up some tweezers, but hey-ho. Anyway, let's see if we can't get this back apart again. So there should be, oh, there's one. We're going to get the other one. Let's give it another quick screw. Let's go back on the framing side of things. Oh, there's so much to keep track of. There we go. Right, let's try and get in here again. So, how did we get in before? Oh, that's it. Yep. So there's a bottom plate and then two side plates. So we try and get the bottom plate off first, which is secured with clips. There we go. Might need a spudger, might not. Nope. And very carefully, because these clips are, of course, delicate and brittle. So there's our bottom piece. Focus. Now we can just prise out this one. So there is another screw underneath that bottom plate. I'll just take that out. There we go. Here we are. Now I can take this part off, put that over here, and there are some screws on the boards. Now don't make the same mistake I did, which was to think that the thumbstick has to come off before you can take the board out the back. It does not. And it makes the thumbstick behave weirdly if you do that. So let's see, what do we have here? Do I need to unscrew both parts of that? If I remember rightly, I do, because there's this connecting wire going between these two boards. Let's get a better view. There we go. Ah, yes, so joy of all black device with all black PCB and all black connecting wires. So there is a connection between here and here. So what we'll do, we'll just take out these three screws. And then we will be able to get to what we want to get to. 2 and a 3. We can also unplug the cable. I might take this out first. Oh, that's right, I'm doing it in slightly wrong order. So we've got this wonderful plastic linkage on our flappy button push. As you can see, we have basically just a regular micro switch under here, and the sticks are all regular micro switches as well. And then this big old plastic arrangement which pivots along here. Now, it's probably not going to show up on video, but you can lift this out carefully. So if I just carefully prise that up, put the optivisor down, that'll help. There we go. Now, it is extremely easy to break this part, so if I just try and get a bit better view, come on, there we go. So there's a hinge here and a hinge here, and I have already broken this hinge once. Luckily, there's enough of it left where it still retains the plastic part, but that is something to be extremely careful of when you do this, which I'm guessing you're interested in doing because you're watching this video. So we'll take out our little boards. So that's the thumbstick board, that's the other board, and we can unplug this. And this board is going to be all gooey now because I overdid it on the flux last time I moved one. Anyway, so this is our culprit. So I turn it over, you see we have our micro switch here. Come on, you're a decent camera, you can focus. There we go, so we've just got a micro switch. Catch it in the light. So we've got one micro switch there, and we've got 4 micro switches under here. So what I would do next is we take out the plastic part that's retaining the thumbstick. So if we have a look here, you can see we've got our black plastic clips here and here, and you just need to carefully, emphasis on carefully, because I have already broken one of these, just push them back and through the board. You don't need to worry about taking the thumbstick off because it all comes out as one unit. Try getting that one out. This is where it gets finicky. There's one, I think. Try get the other one. That's another one. Do this side. Carefully. Come on. I swear it didn't cause this much trouble last time. Because it's pinged back in now. There we go. Let's push that through. Am I holding it too hard? Optimizer time. Make sure that I'm actually... There we go. That's 1. Keep tension. That's 2. And I think that's it. So we'll... There we go. And the actual mechanism is just a very thin piece of plastic that gets moved around and actuates 4 little micro switches. These are even smaller than the ones you get in mice. Trust me, I checked. So what I did find was a nice thread on the EEVblog forums about drop-in replacements for these. So what I will do is I will redo all of the switches just purely because one of them's failing, the rest are probably going to be failing as well. So how many do we need? We need 5. Oh dear, I forgot to turn on the soldering iron. So we'll get that warmed up. Get that back in there. And while that is warming up, we will, let's try doing it on here. So I've got a little holdy thing. Which one should we take off first? Probably, let's do the bottom one first. Yeah, that's not a connector. Oh, in fact, I do need an extra one. Let's just check the pin pitch of that. Yep, drop-in replacement. You can see that pin pitch is just fine. Like I say, I will link to the switches in the doobly-doo down below because it took a little while to find where they were supplied from. Well, they only took a week to arrive. So China to the UK, not a bad shipping time. Actually, I might do the little board first, just purely because that will be easier to show. There. Right. Let's come back out here a little bit. Let's see if our soldering iron has warmed up. There we go. Let's see what we can see here. So I'll just heat the one pin. Oops. There we go, and I'll get rid of that in a second. Off you go. Put a little bit of solder on the tip so it will couple nicely with the solder that's on the board. And so we want to grab and see if we can get that out of there. There's 1, there's 2, and that was switch that way. These do look like drop-in replacements, so I will just put this one back onto the board. Luckily there's even a little daggy bit of solder there, but this is not exactly best practice, but it will tack it in. Now I'll use the horrible sticky flux and just give it a quick dab here and here. Only need a tiny bit, I think. And we will check that the camera is focusing. Come on. I know. I'll put you in manual focus. There we go. So now we will heat up our legs and just solder it as you would a standard component. I'll just get a little bit of heat on there. I'm using leaded solder, by the way, just purely because it is easier to work with. There we go, that looks like a decent enough joint. I'll do this one. There. Put you back in autofocus. And that is one and done. Right, so jump cut now, and I'll do the others, and I'll bring you back at the end of that, because doing the same thing 4 more times will be boring. Okay, and we're back. All the switches have now been replaced, one of which was being a bit of a pain. However, we are now ready to move on. So if I zoom you back up, make sure we're on autofocus. Yep. So, reassembly, mostly the reverse of removal. So let's see, which way did this go in? So we have that button there, and that's there. So which way does the arrow point? I believe the arrow points up. This is something I probably should have paid attention to when I took it apart in the first place. So let's get our little plastic containing unit back on. It should just snap in, providing I haven't broken any more of the clips. There's one. We're going to get this end in as well, so it's important that it's also flush so that it can move. And I think, there we go. Oh, lovely. So that is in. Let's work on getting the boards back into where they belong. Get these screws. Where's the last one? Here we go. So I'm going to put in this little board first. Is it this way around? Yep, so there's a little post for it to locate onto. And then a screw hole here. I believe that slides in. There we go. It just snaps in like so. Let's bring you down. So we've got our little board there. So refitting, mostly the same as removal. There are a couple of caveats to be aware of. The ball detent isn't too bad. It's just the adjuster that can be a bit of a pain. So we will just plug our wiring back up. Is that the right way up? Hopefully it's a keyed connector. I think it is. Yep, that's going in. There we go. This is where I find out that I've done things the wrong way round, but we shall see. So we need to set this back in here, and yeah, don't mind me. Like I say, this isn't exactly a how-to, this is how I happen to be doing it at the moment. Even though I've already been in here once, it was a little while ago. So we'll put the big board on first. Here we go. We've got a locating thing there and there. Let's get some screws in to keep it held down. One. And two. Whoop, get in there. Right. So the stick is moving nice and freely. If the unit with the stick in isn't quite clipped down, then it can bind against here and you won't be able to move in your games. So now we put our little board back on. So I think, yep, so that goes over there. So not a lot of room here. There we go. Push that on. Yep, that pushes against there just fine. We get our screw. Here we go. Make sure that everything is nice and free and there's no play. Okay, so next thing, the demon piece of plastic. Let's see if we can't get this in. It's a bit of a Heath Robinson contraption for this, and thank goodness I did get that microswitch in the right way around. So we want to just, this is where it gets disconcerting because you're bending this peg up in, there we go, and it feels like you're going to break it, and I won't lie, I did break it originally, but luckily I still have enough to actually get a decent amount of purchase. So we will now bring our other half back in, and I will zoom back up a little bit, and we will try and get this back together. This might take some whiffling around. How does this even? Here we go. So we need to go from here to here-ish. So that goes on like that. Then we're going to rotate and push in like so. And I think we are there. So I will just find a screw. So we're more or less going to leave the ball detent to last. And that is because it tends to push through the hole at the front. So you want the metal bracket to actually be already engaged. So we've got that screw in there. Right, let's see, what is going to be the next job? I can't quite remember how they did this last time. So do we want, no, we don't quite want this yet because of this piece that's on here that lets you adjust up and down, which sort of fits on at the end like that. So if I bring it back out a little bit, need to get the spring and spring. Now, is this bit engaged on here, or is it on this end part? Because I want to say that one point of this, so this engages with this slide, I think, or something like that. Let me just dry assemble this so that hooks over here. And then, which means that, okay, so there's a little stud there that hooks over, which is fine. So we'll thread that back on here. And we will try and work out how this goes back together, because of course there is a spring. Joy of joys. So you have that spring loop there which goes over a little post just down in here. Let's try and get it to catch the light and focus ideally. Let's put you back in autofocus, manual focus even. So as you can see there's a little post in there. So we will hook that spring over there and make sure that is over the post. I should really be doing this on a bigger screen because I'm just using the flappy part of the camera. Anyway, so that is now back attached. Back to autofocus you go. Now this is where it's going to get tricky because there is a little hook that this engages with, and I don't think I'm going to be able to film because it is so extremely tiny. Yep, okay. So that goes over there. If I got my little pick, can I just sort of pivot it in Let's see if we can. Oh, I'm mostly doing this by feel now. I hope that didn't go spring. Right, that seems to be engaged. So we thread it up through here. Here we go. And we will take our bottom piece, because this is the part that engages with that other part. How technical of me. The part engages with the other part. Of course it does. Oh, I've done this the wrong way round. I've done this the wrong way round. It's this part I'm thinking that engages, so I've just made it much more difficult for myself. So there is a little runner here which engages like that. So I could have put the bottom bit on first. And now I have to hold spring tension, otherwise I'll have to hook that round again. But not to worry. These things are sent to trieth. Now we're going to try and snap this in without breaking it. Make sure those clips are located properly. If I put the screw in the wrong hole, I'll just double check that. No, I have put the screw in the correct hole, which is good. I'll just try and snap this in, because that should go in there, then that should engage there, and that should engage there, and oh dear, it's all come up. Oh well, never mind, at least now I can do this clearly. So we will try and get you down in here, come on. I think it's the cabling that's doing it. No, that should be where it needs to be. And then we've got that part and that part. It's just getting all of these little clippy bits where they need to go. Oh, I think that's that one. So why are you not going in? There we go. It was just being fiddly. So with a fiddle and a fettle, we can go on to the next bit, which in this case will be to add a screw back to this bottom part. And I should probably put these three back in as well, which I will do. Let's get a better view. There we go. So I'll put the three back in the front. 1 and 2. I'm quite a fan of these little gaming keypads. Most of my gaming these days is of the MMO variety as a pandemic social space, and it's a lot easier on the old wrist. So make sure, yep, not because I'm paranoid or anything, make sure the buttons are still free, which they are. Now we've got to fettle this back into place. Oh dear, it's all coming apart. It is all coming apart. So we'll apply our spring. And let's see if we can't walk that back in. So you hook over the top, start on the side, and hope and pray that you can actually get somewhere with the spring force. There we go. No spring. Okay, let's try that again. Oh wait, yep, I'm engaged. The spring is engaged. Now we can put that on here, which will luckily keep the other bit captive while we get our metal piece, which will then engage with this little doodad here and should hopefully then snap into place down there. Now I'll just keep hold of it because I don't want it flying off anywhere, and we can start putting some of these screws back in, which is going to be a little bit tricky when you need to use one hand to keep tension. This is probably a terrible way of doing it, but it seems to be going okay so far. There, so that's one screw. Woo. Spring still engaged. Well, okay. You appear to be a fake screw hole. I'll come back to you in a minute. Oh no, now we've got to redo this bit. I could edit this out. I may yet edit this out. We shall see. We put our spring back. We will then apply our what's name. Okay, we have spring tension. I can't remember if you can or can't get this onto the bracket when you have this part screwed in. So just to be on the safe side, I'm getting everything assembled while I can. So hold that in place. There we go, that is now in. So there is a lip that it engages on. And this time I won't screw it into the fake screw hole, but the real screw hole. Here we go. Second question is where did I put all my screws? Oh, they're all at one side of the little container there. Okay. So now we will put these all back together. Make sure that that is in view. At this point, I would hesitate to use the term plain sailing, but we're nearly there. We are very nearly there. It's been an interesting experience. We've lived, we've learned. There we go. I guess the other one is just to provide tension on this arm here. Right, okay. So just test that. Yep, that is moving fine. So now all we need to do is the joy that is the ball detent. So let's get our little hooky thing. Oh, actually, yep, so we've got our spring, which is incredibly tiny. And then we have our ball, which will be tinier still. So tiny I can't get it out of here. Here we go. So this is going to, if I got some tweezers I could use. I'm tempting fate here before sending this pinging off into the corner of the room. There we go. So we have our ball down in there. I'll just give it a push with this pick. There we go. Next, we add a spring. And give that a push with the pick, and that should apply the locking force. Oh no, the pick's slightly magnetic. Okay. Get you down there. And that will apply the locking force that stops the keypad coming off the edge. Uh-oh, it's gone. There it is. Thank goodness for that. What about the tweezers? Are the tweezers magnetic? They better not be. There we go. Let's push that down. There. Last component. Well, unless you're counting the rubber matting. But I'm not counting the rubber matting. Mostly because I forgot to put it back on last time. So now we just put this screw in behind our ball detent. And if all has gone well, there we go. Oh. There we are. I had slightly come off the top part there, but there was enough flex in the plastic that I could do it. Right, that is now in. Thumbstick back fine. In fact, I would go so far to say that I can put a bit of rubber on the bottom. So let's give that a go. There we go. Right. So that, in theory, is how to redo the microswitches on a Razer Orbweaver Chroma. However, I will go off and I will test this and report back, because if it hasn't worked, I probably won't upload this video. Let's go. Whoop, technical update time. The verdict is in, the wow chills have been done, it works flawlessly. Which is great for a fix that costs about, £8 or so. Took a week to come from AliExpress. Much better than junking a premium component which was using, I don't know, a few people have said those are questionable choices of microswitches and the way they have them set up. But anyway, next time I will also have spares of these. So in theory, if that keeps happening, I can just keep it going as long as it needs to and just redo the microswitches every couple of years. Anyway, I hope this helps you. Links in the description. Have fun.